Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, joined by Mike Gallagher. We have a massive 12-game slate on the docket and tons of big names with questionable tags on the injury report. Here to cover it with me is Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday?
Feeling it. 12 game matchups. Yeah, I was like, last night I was like, okay, I'm in a good spot. I was trying to stay ahead of the game, right? Like, oh, I got it. Nope, way behind. Got matchups up in time though. So yeah, it's pretty good. A lot of stuff. We have not 101 Dalmatians. We have 102 out players and 17 questionable tags and a partridge in a pear tree. So yeah, it's a doozy slate. Lot of big Q tags. That's the headline here.
Yeah, so if you're playing NBA DFS tonight, be prepared to be locked in at your computer, probably from about 6 o'clock Eastern on to about 10:30 Eastern tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even 5 o'clock Eastern. Join us on the Established Run NBA DFS Premium Live Show with myself and Mike Gallagher.
Yeah.
But that's a show for a later time. For now, let's get into the injuries. In terms of the big questionables on the slate, I think one of the biggest is one that we got on a second helping of the injury report today, which was Joel Embiid, listed as questionable with a back injury. We've talked about Embiid during the course of the season in terms of this like MVP run. He's playing a lot. He's carrying a huge load offensively. And naturally, you kind of start looking for rest spots for him on the schedule. This could be one. Road game against Cleveland. It's a conference opponent that for standings makes a little bit of difference, but not a ton. But the Q tag midday, never a good sign. What are your thoughts on Embiid tonight?
Yeah, been a while since we've seen one of these, right? We used to get it all the time last year, but this year he's held up for the most part. And yeah, the most striking thing from Doc Rivers after the loss to Jokic was he said that Embiid asked for a sub out, like for the first time. He called it fatigue, but now that we get the Q tag, like maybe it was something else. So
fatigue, fear, whatever.
Yeah, yep. All those things. Yep. But yeah, so we'll see. Probably be game time. Definitely a spot they could sit him. Obviously, they're off tomorrow. They play Dallas. Big game coming up on Friday. But yeah, there's if he plays, like there's a lot going on here with this matchup because they might start Ed Davis to eat fouls. So obviously, if he doesn't play, man, I mean they are freaking thin. The center was an issue that they had a major problem with. We'll see DeAndre Jordan probably get the start, but Paul Millsap, Paul Reed, and probably minivan George Yang would get some center minutes there to fill the gaps because we know he's been really busy. And obviously, the easy part would be Dub, Tobias Harris, Harden's, Maxey's, all those guys would certainly benefit. So yeah, we're gonna find out pretty quick, first game of the day, but that's definitely a huge one.
Yeah, there would be a ton of usage to go around there. I would expect DeAndre Jordan to start if Joel Embiid was unable to go. I think Jordan could play up into the low to mid 20s minutes. And at that level, just min price around the industry would be viable. But I think Paul Millsap would be the better per minute producer, but I think they'd all come in secondary, bench units and whatnot. You also could see guys like Shake Milton's usage return, which Shake's been kind of on the way out with Harden around, but just because they need to eat some more possessions. So obviously you remove Embiid and it's a huge, huge hole to fill, both positionally and from a usage perspective. That is one of the earlier games on the slate, so we should get that information, hopefully, with the 76ers, you never know, hopefully right around or before that lock time. Okay, next big questionable on the slate is LeBron. And LeBron's been questionable a bunch of late. He's played through most of the questionable tags. We keep wondering, we've seen him miss one, but we keep wondering if there's going to be any sort of kind of extended rest period. I mean, the Lakers just really can't move a lot in the standings. They're pretty much locked into this 9th seed in the playoff spot. So every questionable tag that comes after him playing through a questionable tag, I get a little bit more nervous that we're going to get a rest spot for LeBron. What are your thoughts tonight?
Yeah, so skip media after this stomping. This score is a little misleading, which is not great. LeBron usually has no problem doing media, whether he's in a bad mood or not. So that's interesting. Obviously, as we said last time, his knee doesn't know how he feels the next day. He's been playing a lot of minutes, right? We saw him play a ton. We saw him play 40 minutes, man. And the last time we saw him play, this many minutes, or I guess 2 times ago it would be. We saw him miss that one game against the Rockets when he played. Oh no, the one before that. I forget which one it was, but he missed that game, right? So definitely think he could sit. And whoo boy, it could be real ugly. It would be full on Patrick Beverly versus Westbrook narrative. That would be fun. But probably almost certainly going to be game time. He's going to be game time, I think, like for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, just the nature of things. I do think there are going to be more. Like the schedule has been really condensed of late, and then it loosens up the last 2 weeks of the season. So I think we might see a rest spot here or there for LeBron. I mean, this is just ridiculous that he's playing upper 30s minutes a night, leading the league in scoring. Like all of this is just crazy. So I, more just stat padding onto his legacy, which is largely inarguable. But man, it would be nice to see this version of LeBron be able to do it in the playoffs as well, or in the play-in at least. And I would like to see him take some time off to make sure that we get that. Yeah. Okay. On to
just to put a bow on the Lakers too, like they brought Wayne because they were down early, right? And they brought Wayne Ellington in to basically cut down Austin Reeves. That was interesting. And I just want to add the matchup here, man. Like, I guess we should just address Dwight coming back to while we're here.
Yes.
So Dwight didn't play a personal. He's going to play today. And man, if they start Dwight, it's gonna be bad. Karl Anthony Towns kills traditional 5. So, what do you do here? Like you put Stanley Johnson on him, you put Melo on him, Gabriel Johnson.
I don't think they'll start.
I don't think so
I think they'll start with Stanley Johnson on Cat.
No, for sure. That's the one I'm expecting too. But and Vogel had some quotes basically saying okay, if our defense sucks, I don't care as long as our offense is okay. That's what they're leaning into right now. So it's not going well. But,
they don't have a lot of choices. I think
really
Stanley Johnson starts on Cat. I think Dwight kind of matches Naz Reid's minutes. I think Dwight's a much better play against Naz Reid than he is against Cat. And so that would be my guess on the Lakers side of things. Other big question.
Just one more thing too. He was asked about Dwight not playing. He's like, "Did you miss him?" He's like, "Not really." Paraphrasing, but that was interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think Vogel doesn't miss anybody right now. I think, maybe his family, maybe just getting away from the Lakers as a whole. Other big questionable tags: Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We've seen him on a tear without Lou Dort and without Josh Giddey of late. But we also know as we get closer and closer to the end of the season, Oklahoma City often likes to take extended rest periods for their main guys. So the questionable tag tonight in the game against San Antonio. They're not super close. Oklahoma City isn't super close to other teams in the standings right now. In the lotto ball, the changes to the lottery stuff doesn't make it as impactful in terms of trying to really tank. So I think this is a legit questionable tag. But what do you think about availability tonight for Shai?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to look up next time you check because he had an ankle injury. I want to see if it's the same one. I didn't check that yet, but I'll check next time I have a sec. But if he doesn't play, man, it should be the Trey Mann show. There were some quotes from Mark Dagnall saying they want to really make him SG light, drive more. His driving kicking should be his main weapon. And that hasn't really been the thing. We saw him do a little bit more driving in this game against the Hornets. Definitely, a pretty good matchup to do it. And it gets a pretty good one here. The Spurs interior defense is pretty bad. He probably would see DeJounte, which is rough. So that would make it a kind of a so-so spot as far as efficiency goes. But his role could be really, really good. They'll probably start Teo Maledon if he can't go. I think they're comfortable with him. We saw him start last year as the point guard, but he was really just the off-ball guy. All the guys they were using were really doing a lot of the ball handling. He was very rarely lighting it up and assists. But Lindy would have to help out. Vitt would have to help out. It would be a total team effort. And Bazley as well. Bazley's hot now. He's been playing extremely well, so he'd take on bigger usage. He's been attacking the basket at will. Really good matchup to do that. So, Shai, if Shai doesn't come out, Shai doesn't play, then I definitely think Bazley could be a guy that picks up some pretty heavy usage.
Yeah, if Shai doesn't play, there's going to be a lot of value on the Thunder, not only in terms of replacing all that usage from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but they're thinner on the whole, right? We've seen of late, they've been playing a little bit tighter rotations. It used to be back when they were fully healthy. It basically was Dort, Giddey, and Shai were the only guys who were going to clear 30 minutes, and then everybody else would be low 20s on the high end, and guys would be kind of mixed and matched. They don't have enough bodies to do that right now. So you take out the 35, 36 minutes from Shai, you got to fill that somehow, and they don't have a lot of bodies to go to. Trey Mann, Teo Maledon would have big roles in that spot. You mentioned Bazley. Poku would probably benefit as well because this is all going to slide guys down too. Like Bazley's going to have to play the 3 a little bit more in these spots. So I think this is an interesting spot for the Thunder. It's also a spot that there's a big risk of ruin in terms of their team because Shea is so much of the offense, relying on the other guys to create it. But for a DFS perspective, if Shea is out, this is going to be a pretty important one because the Spurs play pretty fast. Oklahoma City is going to be pretty thin, and there's going to be a lot of value there if Shea is out.
And yeah, confirmed, same right ankle that he sprained. It cost him 4 weeks. So that's another addition to make you think he could miss this one.
Yeah. Okay. Other big questionable tags. Andrew Wiggins is questionable for Golden State tonight. They also added Nemanja Bjelica as with a questionable tag as well. We talked about how with Golden State getting a little bit healthier here, Draymond Green coming back, Jordan Poole getting into the starting lineup, that there were some different lineup combinations we could see. They brought Draymond off the bench last game. It's unclear if they'll do that again tonight against the Celtics. I kind of doubt it. He played very well. In his post-game interview, he was really he was praising his trainer about like how they've gotten him in such good shape and he feels so good. So I'm pretty optimistic on Dre on the whole here. But what are your thoughts on Wiggins? Also of note for the Warriors, they don't play again until Sunday. So, this is an unusually long stretch. And then after that on Sunday starts, I think it's 7 games in 10 nights for the Warriors.
Yeah.
So this seems like a sit spot to me for Wiggins. Like just give him the extra time. And then, manage guys through that 7 and 10 day period. What are your thoughts on Wiggins and Bjelica tonight? And if Dre moves back in the starting lineup?
Yeah, so they're both out with illness. Bjelica got that midday Q tag, which we're starting to see is pretty a big issue for guys to play. So I think Bjelica is less likely to play than Wiggins. Wiggins did not practice yesterday as well. We never know with these illnesses, right? National TV game, Wiggins usually plays a lot of games. I think he's way more likely than Bjelica, so should be out there. And as you alluded to, it should be a starting lineup of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond. I expect Draymond's limit to be probably 24, and Looney obviously the 5th. If you didn't know that, but so just some background on the Draymond stuff. So Draymond said at shoot around last game that he was going to play 20 to 23 minutes, and then after the game, Kerr said it was a hard 20, and he plays 20. There was garbage time; they didn't have to play him late, but I think he was kind of done anyways. So I guess we're probably looking at like a 24 here for him in the spot they really need him, man. Against Boston, all that size, very, very important Draymond spot. And these two defenses are really good. The Celtics are number 1 defense right now. The Warriors were number 1 before they lost Draymond. So it's going to be a straight slugfest. A lot of interesting matchup stuff that I'm going to keep behind the paywall, though.
Yeah, I do think, this is an interesting spot for the Warriors with all the rest kind of coming. With maybe a little bit, they're still fairly healthy, but if they do take out Wiggins, it's a wing that they have to replace in terms of a lot of minutes against a team that likes to play, a lot of strong wing scorers in Boston. So I think this is a really interesting game and a really interesting spot for the Warriors to potentially attack tonight.
Yep.
Other big questionables: Fred VanVleet is questionable for Toronto. OG Anunoby is doubtful for Toronto. We've seen Toronto play a lot without Fred VanVleet of late. They've been able to do it successfully. When he's been out, it's been the Scotty Barnes show. Scotty Barnes has really taken over the point guard roles. Him and Pascal Siakam have kind of led things in the absence of those two. What do you think tonight? This road trip, Toronto 4 in a row on the road here, now gets the Clippers team that has been struggling of late as well. A good opportunity. What do you think about Fred VanVleet's availability tonight?
Should be good. He doesn't really express too much concern. We saw him miss that back-to-back game against Denver. So I think he's going to be okay. He's going to probably be game time, but got a pretty early in on the last one. So I think he should be okay. We saw him play pretty big minutes. Nick Nurse did have some concerns about his offensive impact. He played off ball a lot. You see the 12 3-pointers of his 14 shots. He was not getting into the paint. He was basically a shooting guard with Scotty Barnes and Siakam running the show. So I expect that to continue. So not a lot of upside. Going to see Amir Coffey on the other side too. So not the best matchup. So you could see, Siakam and Barnes getting the olds on the other side in Batum and Morris. So I expect those guys to be really impactful players. And also Precious Achiuwa did start even with VanVleet. I think Precious Achiuwa has definitely leapfrogged Birch in a matchup that you may want to go back to him against Zubats. We've seen them really feed the ball to Zoo in the last few games. His touches their way up. But I think they really, if you start Precious Achiuwa against Jokic, that speaks pretty much big volumes that you trust this dude in the post. So do think he plays, but not like the best matchup. The Clippers, as bad as they've been, their defense has been really good.
Yeah.
They've been top 5 since the break in defense. So it's kind of crazy. Like I was writing down matchups, and a lot of the late night games aren't that appetizing. Like we've been playing a lot of these late night games that we really like, but Boston, that's going to be a slugfest. The Milwaukee could blow out Sacramento. Mentioned the Toronto Clippers game could be kind of a lower scoring game than we may think. So it's kind of interesting slate that I'm excited to break down later.
Other questionables on the slate. Aaron Gordon is questionable for Denver. We saw he was feeling ill last game against Philadelphia and didn't close. What are your thoughts on his availability tonight?
Yeah, it was throwing up. Did not feel well. Did not close. It was Bones Highland there, so we're not gonna know. I'll add it's a big one. If he's in, I'm betting the hell out of Denver plus 5.5 if that's still there. Because if you have Aaron Gordon, you could put him on Kuzma.
It's got to be minus. The Nuggets are not.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant to say minus. Yeah, sorry. Minus 5.5, whatever it is now. So that's a big deal because you're going to be downgrading your best defender from Aaron Gordon to like you're going to put Jeff Green on him because if you stop Kyle Kuzma, you're pretty much going to win by a lot, I think. So that's interesting. If he doesn't play, they'll be going smaller a lot. Like we saw Bones Highland run away. Also worth noting too, he's from Wilmington, Delaware, certainly close to Philly, but Wilmington to DC is not a very far drive. So he'll probably have the gang out there for a little homecoming narrative as well. So I think Bones would be interesting. JaMychal's not as important here, right? Because that was very much against Embiid. You don't really need JaMychal against Kristaps Porzingis. So it's very much a different matchup from how you're going to use your size. You don't need to use it basically. So I could see it going really small if Gordon doesn't play.
Justice Winslow for Portland is on the injury report as questionable. Portland's been sitting guys very aggressively, so I'm still skeptical that we'll see Winslow's return tonight. But a questionable tag for him. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. This kind of popped up out of the blue. He's missed time here for an Achilles injury. It's always concerning, but I think he's got a chance to play. I mean, they put him on a Q tag on there. They've been listing him out straight up, so I think they have a chance to play. And I mean, if he does, he was playing just to pull up his game log, he was mid 30s consistently. Yep. Before he got hurt. So 33, look at those numbers, mid 30s all day. So he would be interesting here. And because again, as I was saying, he's competing with Trent and Watford, CJ Ellaby. These guys are not legit NBA players. So he would be, and he would get the Randall matchup too, an interesting spot there. So we'll see. Probably game time, but him playing would be, I don't know what his price is, but he'd be someone to look at for sure.
The Wolves, once again, have a ton of guys on the injury report. Jared Vanderbilt, McLaughlin, Bev, Naz Reid. There's no Jalen McDaniels tonight. So what are your thoughts on who the Wolves will have available?
Yeah, high ankle sprain for McDaniels. That's a big deal if Vanderbilt can't play because you're taking Beverly's going to play, I'm pretty sure. We saw him play after the last one after he hurt his ear a few games ago, missed one. So he should be good. Same thing. With some of these other tags that we're seeing are pretty much garbage. McLaughlin, maybe he's in or out. That's a kind of a legit injury. But Vanderbilt also, over the weekend, Chris Finch said that nobody needed a break more than Vanderbilt, and it's reflected in him missing games. So they need him now without McDaniels. So probably game time. We'll see there. If he doesn't go against LeBron, we saw Taurean Prince way back in the day when he was with the Hawks, he was one of the LeBron guys that they would use in those matchups. So he would probably get a throwback time to guard LeBron there. But he would be helping. If more guys are missing, McLaughlin's out, I'm all over the place. There's so many moving parts here. I think they'll play a lot of small stuff too. If a lot of guys are missing, because Jalen Noel's been freaking crazy good. He's been ultra efficient. They are finally playing Beverly, D'Lo, and Noel together a little bit, so that's something to keep an eye on there. But it doesn't Vanderbilt doesn't really move the needle as far as anybody in particular. It's going to be kind of a bunch of guys mixing and matching. But it would help. It would help the matchup on LeBron though if LeBron does play. Yeah,
and you can pretty much play any lineup combinations against the Lakers just because they don't have a lot of guys that beat you off the dribble on the perimeter. Mm-hmm. So you can get into those 3 guard lineups. And it's really not that big of a deal. You just have Beverly on Westbrook, and then you can hide Noel on Reeves or one of these other guys. So definitely a lot of different ways they can play that there. Eric Gordon is questionable for Houston. Dennis Schroeder's not listed on the injury report tonight, so we're expecting him to be available. And if Eric Gordon is unable to go, Garrison Matthews has been the guy who's largely benefited in the past. They're huge underdogs here against Phoenix. What are you expecting from Eric Gordon as he is celebrating Indiana's victory into the tournament last night?
News to me. Eric Gordon had a late scratch in the last one. It was not a maintenance thing. We see him sit back to backs. This game on the screen here was not because of that. So Eric Gordon knee injuries, they're not best friends. Or I guess they are best friends, I should say. So yeah, he's probably sitting. So I think Garrison Matthews starts. Josh Christopher has been really freaking good. So I think he would benefit. Definitely curious to see how Dennis Schroeder would play out. I wouldn't be totally shocked if Schroeder just doesn't play. Like, Christopher's been that good. I do think he does. I'm just saying it's like in the realm of possibilities.
If Gordon didn't play, you still think there's a possibility that Schroeder wouldn't play?
Teeny tiny one, but okay. Just saying it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm not. You can pretty much, if you're, pretty much throw it out. But just don't be shocked if that happens.
Okay. Let's talk about Brooklyn. No Kyrie tonight because it's a home game after he went for 60 big ones last night. Shout out to me with the flag plant.
Yeah. That is why I put my my flames up. I'm an idiot for passing and giving it to you as I was going to plan.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
Times.
Yeah. Shout out to you.
So no Kyrie tonight, and Seth Curry and Cam Thomas are both questionable again. If they are without Seth Curry, Cam Thomas, and Kyrie, there's a lot of minutes in the backcourt to fill, likely by Goran Dragic and Patty Mills. What is your expectation on Seth and Cam tonight against Dallas?
So they got rolled out pretty quick, and as I mentioned on the last edition, I think Seth is like a maintenance thing. And just if you're a coaching staff, you know your player is playing through an ankle sprain, and you know you're going to be missing a player the next game, like sit out Seth and then play him today, right? Like with Kyrie out, makes perfect sense. It is a minor thing, like I mentioned. The timeline, if you missed the show last time, it was ankle sprain about a week and a half ago. Got a tag, played through it for a week, and then warmed up, didn't feel good, got the late scratch. So I think he's going to be okay. Cam Thomas, kind of same thing for the reasons I said. This doesn't really matter, but they just called up Day'Ron Sharpe right now. He had a 30 and 22 point game today.
30 points, 22 rebounds.
30 points, 22 rebounds, 4 blocks in 37 minutes. Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we'll definitely see. No Kyrie. That means Gordon. I got the screen when they played with the Knicks. Sorry. But Dragic is certainly starting. Curious to see what happens with Patty Mills. Seth would certainly start, but if he doesn't, I think they would go back to Patty Mills. They let Cam off the bench, and then they'd fill in the minutes with James Johnson. We saw them play a little bit bigger. Kessler Edwards was actually subbed in really early yesterday, so he would benefit. But I feel pretty good that Seth or Cam are going to play today.
Yeah, the other note on the Nets is just generally against Dallas. Dallas doesn't play big in terms of centers, but like they just generally play they don't play small either. They play like a lot of wingy size guys. So if they were without Seth and Cam, I certainly think Patty Mills' minutes would be fairly secure there. But if they have them both, I think there's a chance that Patty Mills' minutes get cut way, 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 way down. And that you see like Kessler Edwards hang in the rotation after playing last night and playing fairly well last night. That you see James Johnson pick up more minutes just because defensively he probably is one of their better options to throw at Luka. So you might see some of the guard minutes naturally come down a little bit for Brooklyn if they have these guys available. If they don't, then it's really thin and they probably have to play Dragic and Mills quite a bit. But even like Dinwiddie is a bigger dude as far as guards go. And Luke obviously, is more of a point forward in that role. So you might see more of the wingier type guys for Brooklyn get shots tonight.
Yep.
Okay. Other new situations to tack on. Utah is surprisingly like getting a little bit thinner here.
Yeah.
No Bojan Bogdanovic. We knew about that one. This time we knew about that one. Last time, not on the injury report, even though we kept saying he didn't go through shoot around. This is weird. He ended up not playing. Danuel House is now listed as out, and Trent Forrest is also listed as out. So how does the Jazz rotation shake up? Because they're a little bit thinner on the wings now without House and without Bogdanovic.
Yeah, they're real thin, and losing Trent Forrest is like low key a big deal because then you're talking about filling guard minutes there and playing Clarkson more of like a 2-3. Now you're gonna have to play him like a lot, like a 1-2-3. So Clarkson may get a lot of minutes here. It's not a great matchup. The Bulls are really good at defending the 3-point line. They get beat inside, but I think they're going to start Rudy Gay. I wouldn't be shocked if they like go off the board and start Butler and get more spacing. But Gay definitely the favorite. They do and I wouldn't be shocked if Clarkson starts, because that's how bad it is, man. They're missing losing House and Boyan is like a massive deal. They're not going to want to play Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay had 5 fouls in the second half with the Giannis matchup, so that explains why his minutes are a little bit low. He got the start in the second half, only played 9 second half minutes because of the foul fest. But definitely think Gay gets the start, and decent matchup against the Bulls. But yeah, could be a lot of minutes for Donovan Mitchell, Conley. A pretty good matchup for Donnie in the first unit on the Bulls side, courtesy of Alex Caruso starts. Could talk about that in a second. But yeah, should be a lot of minutes for Royce O'Neal, Conley, Mitchell, Clarkson, and against the Bulls defense, it's been pretty vulnerable. Even with they got lit up by the Kings, so that that's the Bulls. The Bulls are certainly not bulletproof even with Caruso back.
As I have been saying for the last few weeks, the biggest frauds in the NBA, the Chicago Bulls. They're eventually going to finish where they deserve to finish, which is probably around 6 in the East, is my guess. And then people won't, because they'll be the 6 seed instead of the 3 seed when they get bounced in the first round. People will be like, "Oh, that was expected," but it's been expected all year. They're not that good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In terms of other returns, Justin Holiday, Danilo Gallinari. We talked about Dwight Howard, a couple of these options back. Gallinari is a big one for the Hawks just because it eases some of the pressure that we're on Kevin Huerter, Bogdan Bogdanovic in the absence of John Collins, because Gallinari can play, and especially against Charlotte. He could also fill in some backup center minutes if they choose to go smaller against Charlotte. I don't think that they will, just because Charlotte's playing kind of bigger on the hole with Plumlee and Trez as the combo. I don't think they'll go to Gallinari in those spots. At center, I think Okongwu is a much better fit against Harrell. But having him back does provide some more versatility, takes a little bit of the pressure off DeAndre Hunter, Bogdanovic, and Huerter to play really, really huge minutes. Any other notes that you have there for Gallinari's return?
Yeah, they put DeLon Wright on Josh Hart in the last game, which was kind of a surprise. We thought that Bogdan would get that start, and he didn't. And his stat line was bad, but that's a big responsibility. Hart kind of cooked him. But definitely expecting Gallo to go back and start. He missed the last game, likely because of back-to-back. Should be fine. Got the probable tag, and that's kind of big for not having Collins is really a really important piece here, because it could really allow the Hornets to go small. You guys were talking about on the cover show, but James Borrego loves to go to Cody Martin in this Hawks matchup. He's played big minutes, even with the full roster. He finds playing time, so that could certainly squeeze things on the other end. And also worth noting too that kind of this isn't injury related, but the Hawk that Cody Martin lineup with LaMelo, Rozier, Miles Bridges, and Plumlee is the best offensive lineup in the NBA. 130 offensive rating among 79 lineups with 100 minutes. So definitely interesting on that matchup side. But we'll see what's up. Should be a pretty high scoring game, one of the higher projected ones too. So pretty good game environment right off the bat.
Only other injury news left to tackle is that the Phoenix Suns did not submit their injury report. We're expecting
they just did, actually.
Oh, did they? Nice.
Yeah.
Any surprises there? We're expecting Cam Johnson. Paul still out.
Cam Johnson's out. Paul obviously, Sarge, and so no surprises.
And they are on the second night of a back-to-back, but they did not have to push their guys at all last night. If you were on the live show behind the paywall last night, hopefully you hit the CJ McCollum under 25.5 and Suns minus 4.5 parlay that we suggested on the show, played off at plus 240 and relatively easily, not pretty sweat free. So we will continue to spew in some fire betting takes when we have an occasion during the shows.
People would be fiending for that, man. We may have to do a flag plant and a parlay bet as our thing. I'm obsessed with it, man. I'm so obsessed with running parlays. I run probably 15, 20 a day. It's my new jam. I don't play. I'm too busy. I don't play enough DFS. I want to play more, but yeah. Anyways.
Michael Parlay Gallagher. All right. That'll do it.
We missed one teeny tiny one.
Who did we miss?
Holiday matchup. Justin Holiday is back on the injury report. The injury report, I meant to say. So he'll be back. We saw Dante was great. His stat line wasn't great. Dante DiVincenzo, but he gets a revenge game against the Bucks. He was the primary on DeMar. They threw a lot of traps at DeMar. But DeMar was held down. Anybody that bet his overs, I saw our Discord bet his overs. We didn't, and he was just taken out of the game because DiVincenzo did a freaking great job. So it might be a Wally Pipp situation, but we'll also see. It's the Holiday brother narrative. So I think Justin may still have the inside track to start. And just another matchup thing to note: De'Aaron Fox is not taking on the primaries anymore. That's a big deal. So we were attacking the hell out of Kings opposing point guards. And now it's like not as attractive because they're going to put Fox on Grayson Allen. So that's something to kind of think about, which has also really helped Fox's usage and ceiling. Man, he just is like, okay, he has one job, and that's to score the freaking ball right now. So bad matchup against Drew. We'll see what his price is and stuff, but I'm definitely fascinated to see how that works out.
Yeah.
And also, is Trey Lyles going to guard Giannis? Like, is that what's popping in the streets right now? Because that would go poorly. So I'm curious to see if they make a change with like Metu starting or something like that.
Yeah, or you could see Harrison Barnes take that responsibility.
We got a late cue here. Gary Trent's got the illness.
That's big for Toronto.
That's really big, yeah.
Obviously, with both Trent and Van Vliet on the injury report, things could get really, really tight there for Toronto, and their guard depth is not great.
Mm-hmm.
Malachi Flynn's still out, so man, I think you would see some of those monster big lineups from Nick Nurse that he loves to do. So like, you don't think of it right away that Gary Trent Jr. being out, if he is, would impact like Chris Boucher, but it probably does. It's probably Chris Boucher and Kem Birch and those guys. Obviously, they've shown some comfort level playing Armani Brooks. So I think Armani Brooks would obviously benefit in those roles, but I could also see them just going a lot bigger and a lot like, wingier against the Clippers as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
Okay, 12 games in the books. I think we've covered it all from an injury perspective. We will cover it all from a DFS perspective behind the paywall at Established Run at 5 o'clock Eastern time today. Myself and Mike Gallagher once again. As a reminder, there will be no shows tomorrow. No DFS show, no injury report show. We are taking the day off from shows. Enjoy the March Madness. There's only one NBA game tomorrow, Detroit and Orlando. So those of you playing Showdown and stuff, we'll have projections and everything, but we're taking off from the show's perspective. It's just not enough worthwhile resources to invest in the single game slate. We'll put those to the projections today and tomorrow on these big 12-game slates surrounding it. And if you are not going to join us behind the paywall at Established Run, at least consider subscribing to our YouTube page here so you can get notifications whenever we go live, which will once again not be tomorrow. Everybody will still ask. I know we'll get the questions. But we will be back again on Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern. And to those in chat who have smashed or hit or pressed gently that like button, we really appreciate it. It helps circulate this content more frequently within the algorithms and helps us continue to provide the free content for you. So for myself and Mike Gallagher, we wish you the best of luck in the games tonight. Enjoy them. Enjoy March Madness tomorrow. We'll be back on Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern with another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Take care, everybody.